Erin here. Hi, we're talking about rib flare today. So I recently posted on Instagram a post about rib flare, and there was a lot of people with follow-up questions. So I thought a longer video with some exercises would be a little bit more informative. So I'm going to start by defining what rib flare is, what are the implications of having it, how you can check it in your own body, and then finally in the next video I'll give you about 5 exercises that can help correct this issue if you have it. So with all these exercises, with all these things, make sure you're cleared for movement-based exercises and corrective exercise before you begin any of these and before you begin this practice. But let's go ahead and dive into the lesson so you can learn more about rib flare. Okay, so what is a rib flare? A rib flare is the rib cage opening up and out. So basically you're stuck in an inhalation pattern, creating more of a shallow breathing pattern here, and we can't get our ribs down. So this can cause a lot of other things in the body. If I turn to the side, you'll see if I have my ribs out, and a lot of people have this posture, I might have more of an arch in my low back, more of an anterior pelvic tilt in my pelvis area. And so what this creates is with an anterior pelvic tilt and the ribs out, we will have really long and stretched out core. So a weak core, then you'll often get weak glutes, weak hamstrings. So here and here would be weak, then your back's gonna be tight and your hip flexor complex in the front is going to be tight. So it gets us out of a muscular balance. And if you're too opened up, rib cage here, if you're doing exercises from this position with the ribs out, if you're squatting from this position with the ribs out and a big old curve in your low back, you're not going to be able to first breathe correctly, to engage the core the way we need to. Your exhale is going to be real limited because you're breathing from an inhaled position, and it can just create a lot of dysfunction in the area. So there's all these muscles connected to the ribs. It is the cornerstone of our body. It's the middle of our body, super, super important. And we hear a lot about belly breathing, and I like to focus more of my training on ribcage expansion. So getting your ribs mobile and able to inhale, expand out laterally, out, not up, expand out laterally, and exhale, draw in. The natural movement of the ribs are inhale, external rotation, exhale, internal rotation. So that's what's happening inside. And if we're doing that good breathing pattern, then we should be connecting with the core naturally, but we can't do that. We can't do that if we're open and stretched out here from that rib flare. So we want to work on correcting that. The first thing I'd like to note is to my ladies, my ladies out there. I'm postpartum about a year or so now. The baby's napping right now actually. And when we're pregnant, our ribs widen out and open up to create space for the baby. So if you are having trouble postpartum getting your ab separation, to recover, if you're having trouble with pelvic floor issues, you want to look at what's happening in the ribs, what's happening with your breathing pattern, because likely it's a great place to start. So we always start with the breath work. The exercises I show you in the next video will really go over that, but let's just quickly address rib flare and have you check it on yourself. You're gonna have to get a little handsy with yourself. You might already be able to feel your rib flare and you already know you have one. You might be able to feel it when you stand. So it's good to check it in all positions, but I really like laying down flat on my back to check it and to work it and stuff like that. So go ahead, if you can, get down on your back, nice and slow. I'll move all my toys. My kids are always playing with all these toys. All right, so for our rib cage check, and I've worked on mine quite a bit, when you lay down, you might even need to take your shirt off. You might need to grab your phone and take a picture of yourself, but see if one of your ribs is popping up, maybe the other's popping out more. Just feel yourself, see where you're at, And then I'd like you to take your hands overhead and see what happens when you take your hands overhead. Do the ribs come with your arms? Do they pop out and up when you reach your arms overhead? So when you reach your arms overhead, and you don't have to touch the ground, but see what's happening in the ribs. Are they moving? Are they popping in and up and coming out more? So that's what we want to work on. You can also check with extended legs. Here you might be able to feel maybe one's popping out more than the other. And just know you're going to have a little bit of this. I'm talking about a pretty excessive rib flare and maybe some other issues you already know you have. So, and then finally, if you're not sure, go ahead and meet with me. I'm a coach, so we can do a virtual one-on-one. I'm a corrective exercise specialist, but you might want to meet with a physical therapist, check with your doctor, and just see, get it examined by somebody else. Maybe have a spouse or a partner check out your rib flare, see what you see, take some pictures. I find that taking pictures is really, really helpful. And sometimes when we're looking at our rib cage, we might have really wide here. So we don't want to be too wide with our ribs, and we don't want to be too narrow with our ribs. We want to have a nice, right in the middle, a nice balance here of where our ribs are placed. This will help us be able to get that good inhale, good exhale pattern. And then one more thing you'll notice perhaps is that your ribs might not be symmetrical. We're not symmetrical from right to left. And in fact, the left rib cage tends to flare more based off of where our organs are. And so just notice that left rib flare might be a little more pronounced than the right. So start there, see where you're at on rib flare, kind of know what it looks like, and know in our next video, we're going to address breathing and about 5 exercises that can help you reestablish a good position of your rib cage, a good inhale, a good exhale. And you can use these as activation or stabilizing exercises before you work out, so you can program them into your daily routine before you exercise, maybe after you foam roll. And I'll address foam rolling and some of the other things in the next video, but stay tuned. Thank you.